Welcome to the first episode of Historic Churches here on SAR Histories, where today in this episode we will tour St Nicholas Church at Abbots Bromley, Staffordshire. The parish church was originally built in the 13th century. There have been additions, including the clerestory that was added in the 16th century. The west tower was restored in the 17th century after the collapse of the spire. The church also has several monuments, including a brass memorial to John Draycote, a political official of Abbots Bromley. There are also memorials to John and Edward Vernon, members of the wealthy and well-known Vernon family. The first historical record of the village of Abbots Bromley dates from 942, when the manor of Bromley was given to a Wulfsiege the Black. The will of a Wulfric Spot, Earl of Mercia, which was dated 1002, gave the village to the Abbey of Burton-on-Trent. Abbots Bromley was recorded in the Domesday Book as Brumlege, when it was part of the land of St Mary of Burton. The church remained affiliated to the abbey till the dissolution of the monasteries in 1545. Henry VIII gave Bromley Abbots to Sir William Paget, the clerk of the Signet and Privy Councillor. The village was then known as Paget's Bromley for several centuries, but when the influence of the Paget family declined, the name reverted back to Abbots Bromley. The Church of St Nicholas had a particular interest to me, as I have recently discovered that my ancestors lived and worked in the village. My 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th great-grandparents were married in this church, and my 7th, 9th and 10th were buried somewhere here. Sadly, I didn't find their graves, but I found it fascinating looking at the old gravestones, weather-worn and crumbling from the decay of time. Most of what we see of the church is not medieval. Like many churches in the area, Abbots Bromley suffered during the 17th century civil war, leaving the church practically ruined. On Wednesday, 23rd of November 1698, the spire collapsed and destroyed the west end of the church. It was the Victorians who restored the medieval architecture under the supervision of a Mr. Street of Oxford. Like the surrounding graveyard, the church is well maintained, and the village evidently takes pride in its appearance. There are a lot of old graves here, mostly ranging from the 18 to 1900s, so if you have ancestors living in the area at that time, it is well worth visiting. For me, it was a pleasure to visit, and I found myself pleased that my ancestors were laid to rest in such a place. There were some broken and moved headstones at the foot of a small hill. As I passed, reading their names, I was filled with sorrow, for they were ordinary people like you and me, and to see their forgotten names fading in the cruelty of time made me wonder of my own fate. Graveyards are often solemn places where we each might sit and reflect upon life. St Nicholas's at Abbots Bromley certainly offered that escape, and I would highly recommend it to any who like visiting churches. For like battles, plagues, kings or queens, churches are part of our history also, and we each have a duty for their care in the future. If you have enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you again for more historical churches next time. Goodbye.